Hello, folks. This is your Impeach Not update for the 23rd. Um, Actually, it's only somewhat impeach not. Let me ask you a question. Would you impeach a president that actually managed to stop fighting, really stop it, in another country and hand off the security responsibility to that country and another nation that happened to have a little more interest in whether or not terrorism showed up back there again than we do? Because that's what Trump just did. He did it in Syria. Everybody, the chin and everybody else running around with their hair on fire. Oh my God, ISIS is going to come back. This is a terrible thing. We bring these people out of Syria. We take our people out of there. Oh my God, it's awful. It's awful. Well, actually, it's not awful. The sanctions were just dropped, and the reason they were dropped is that the ceasefire has now become permanent. Wait. I thought that wasn't going to happen, that the Syrians and the Turks were going to keep shooting at each other. Well, apparently they're not. And additionally, Turkey, Syria, and believe it or not, Russia, that terrible, awful nation that wants to see everybody kill each other. They're stepping up and are going to essentially, they've told the Kurds they have to get out of this disputed area. They need to cut this crap out, get out of there, and we're going to have this thing called peace. So the threatened humanitarian nightmare of millions of refugees flooding into Europe didn't happen. The alleged rise of ISIS, if it happens, will be the Soviet Union's, Turkey's, and Syria's problem. I remind you that if ISIS pops back up in that part of the world, Turkey would be the first ones to have a major issue with that. And Russia is a whole hell of a lot closer and much more interested in not having ISIS show back up and start blowing things up than the United States. Not because Russia is any less vulnerable to it than we are. Oh, wait, they're more vulnerable. They're closer. And so what was all of this strum and furor about in Syria and Turkey in the first place? Oh, why don't we talk about what Barry Obama and his pals really wanted? Because it all ties back to all this crap going on in Ukraine and this so-called impeachment nonsense. By the way, Matt Gaetz, congressman for this district here, attempted to storm into one of the hearings today and disrupted it. That's rather interesting. Seems to me that being a congressman, he ought to be able to at least listen, right? You'd think? No? Oh, apparently not. No, very important to be secret because, we can't let any truth come out here. We have to release selective pieces, which Adam Schiff did, and then GOP members that were actually in the room for yesterday's testimony said, no, that's a selective edit, and in fact, there was no connection made, even though the hair on fire press was running around saying it was. But back to Syria. Why was everybody all worried about Syria? What was the big deal with Syria? What's the big deal with Turkey? Maybe gas pipelines and oil pipelines. Maybe the real issue is energy. Maybe the real issue doesn't have anything to do with whether or not somebody's a good guy or a bad guy when it comes to their particular political leanings or whether or not they're a religious nutball. Maybe, just maybe, there's a whole lot of corruption going on here, and we're sending our boys and girls over into these other nations to fight for not freedom, because we never seem to actually go fight. So witness my ticker the other day about fighting when you really mean it. Oh, no. Instead, we go over there and we mamby-pamby around, and what we're really doing, we're paving the way for people to steal. And guess what? Trump said, not over here anymore. It's not worth the investment. We're not getting anything out of it that's worth it as a nation. Certainly not the part that's being disclosed. And as for the undisclosed part, if you guys want to make the case that we ought to be over there for the undisclosed part, why don't you disclose it? And why don't you tell us who's getting the benefits? And then let us have a nice little public debate in the public square between all Americans as to whether or not it's worth it. And if it is, well, if there's certain private entities that are getting the benefit out of this, maybe they ought to be paying the security costs. Maybe it ought to be their employees over there toting guns, instead of our soldiers. Nobody wants to go there. But you know what? The Chin and all the neocons and all the other screamers, well, so far, And hey, listen, this book's not closed yet. Last chapter hasn't been written and won't be for quite some time. But as it stands right now, those terrible people this is going to dissolve into chaos. There's going to be an all-on civil war. It's going to spread. It's going to go throughout the entire Middle East, and it's just going to be an absolute freaking disaster. Well, guess what? That's not what happened. So how about all those people who were saying it was? Where are they being called out? Where are they being paraded out in the front of the National Mall because they wanted our boys and girls to go over there and get their asses shot off? And a bunch of them have. Not just here, but in Afghanistan and other places. Guess what? Trump turns around and says, nope, not our problem, your problem. You want to deal with this, you deal with it. You have a greater interest in stopping the terrorists than we do because it happens to be in your backyard. If you don't like that, well, then you ought to do something about it. And if you're not willing to do something about it, well, we're going to sanction the ever-loving hell out of you. But other than that, we'll crush your economy, we'll let it collapse, and you can live with the consequences of that. But we're not sending any more boots over there. We're not sending any more guns over there. And we're not going to prevent your people from shooting at each other if that's what they really want to do. All of a sudden, people started looking at this and saying, oh, well, maybe we won't shoot. Well, death stinks. Rotting corpses ain't so good, huh? And all of a sudden, those countries that have the greatest interest in making sure that ISIS doesn't actually come back up and start blowing shit up, that would be the ones that are closest, by the way. They step up and they say, we're going to stop it. And they manage to get an actual agreement from the Kurds to get the hell out of there. Big shock, huh? Big shock. Credit where credit is due, folks. I don't like Trump. I think he's a prick. But, at least for right now, on this one, he's right. Like it or not. I'm your ticker guy. And that's how it is.